Welcome back, students. Today we will continue our session about the discussion of religious paths to divine based on two case studies. First, I will discuss about Kabir and followed by Guru Nanak. Probably during 15th or 16th centuries, one of the most influential saints of Indian Bhakti and Sufism, that was Kabir. He brought up in a family of Muslim Juhlas or weavers community who were settling down near to the city of Banaras, present day Varanasi. But about his life we are getting very less information. Rather, his ideas about bhakti or devotion that has been interpreted and expressed through different verses which are called Sakhis and Padas, and that has been composed by him and sung by wandering bhajan singers till date. Some of these were later collected and preserved in the Guru Granth Sahib, Panch Bani and Bijak. Kabir is a very prominent name of Indian religious tradition of Bhaktism and Sufism. Kabir's teaching were based on a complete, indeed vehement rejection of the major religious traditions. He openly ridiculed all form of external worship of both Brahmanical Hinduism and Islam. The preeminence of the priestly classes and the caste system he criticized. The language of his poetry was a form of spoken Hindi which is widely understood by ordinary people, and that's why he was very famous among the common people. He also sometimes used cryptic languages which is difficult to follow. Kabir believed in a formless supreme God and preached that the only path to salvation was through bhakti or devotion. Kabir drew his followers from among both Hindus and Muslims. That means Kabir is having a general acceptance towards both the religion like Hindu or Muslim. So this is the unique combination of this particular time of Indian history where Bhakti and Sufism both have affected our tradition very, you can say very prominently. So that the Kabir is also considered one of the eminent Sufi as well as Bhakti saint of India. So from here you will be getting some important question that from where we are getting the composition of Kabir, where it has been preserved like Guru Granth Sahib, Panch Bani and Bijak, and what are the name of the collection of verses which has been composed by Kabir. Those are called Sakhis and Padas. From which family or which background Kabir was belonging to. He was Hindu, but later on Juhla or the weaver community, one of the family, they adopted him and he brought up over there in a Muslim family, but later on in his life he has shown a different enlightened devotional path for the others and for his followers also. Next we are getting what are the basic features of Kabir's teaching, and finally why Kabir was so famous among the common people. So from this case study you will get at least the basic idea about Kabir's teaching, who was Kabir. Now we are going to the next part, that is Baba Guru Nanak. You can go through your textual reference. From here we will come to know Baba Guru Nanak, born at Talwandi, that is Nankana Sahib in Pakistan. He widely travelled before establishing a centre at Kartarpur, that is Dera Baba Nanak on River Ravi. A regular worship that consisted of the singing of his own hymns was established there for his followers. Irrespective of their former creed, caste or gender, his followers ate together in the common kitchen that has been called as langar. The sacred space thus created by Baba Guru Nanak was known as Dharmshal. It is now known as Gurdwara. This is the first religious community which also being considered as the political entity of Indian subcontinental history, that is Sikhs. Before his death in 1539, Baba Guru Nanak appointed one of his followers as his successor. Lehna, it was his name, but he came to be known as Guru Angad. He was the part of Baba Guru Nanak himself, that has been believed like that. Guru Angad compiled the compositions of Baba Guru Nanak, to which he added his own in a new script known as Gurmukhi. The three successors of Guru Angad also wrote under the name of Nanak, and all of their compositions were compiled by Guru Arjan in 1604. This compilation were added the writings of other figures like Sheikh Farid, Saint Kabir, Bhagat, Namdev and Guru Tegh Bahadur. 1706, this compilation was authenticated by Guru Tegh Bahadur's son and successor Guru Gobind Singh, and it is now known as Guru Granth Sahib, the holy scripture of Sikhs. So, this is the first political entity I already referred. Why I have told this thing? You can see the picture, that is the Gurmukhi script that has been used at the time of preparing the compilation Baba Guru Granth Sahib. So, before I will go to the next part, this Sikh community gained a very powerful position as well as the politically powerful position in the Indian history. It is not only considered as a political, as a religious sect, rather it is it was creating a lot of importance in the society also. Let's see how this thing happened. The number of Baba Guru Nanak's followers increased through the 16th century under his successors. I already referred the name of 10 gurus. Few of the names given in your text. They belong to the number of caste, but traders, agriculturists, artisans, craftsmen, they were the predominant of this part of following this kind of sects. These may have something to do with Baba Guru Nanak's insistence that his followers must be householders and should adopt productive and useful occupations. They were also expected to contribute to the general funds of the community of the followers. There lies the difference with other that Bhakti and the Sufi saints. Here Guru Nanak has given importance about the community, about the society. Here, beyond the religious belief, he thought about the society also. You can go through the textual reference. There you can see by the beginning of the 17th century, the town of Ramdaspur, that is near to this is Amritsar, had developed around the central Gurdwara called Harmandir Sahib, which is known as Golden Temple. It was developed or established. It was virtually self-governing, and modern historians refer to the early 17th century Sikh community as a state within the state. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir looked upon them as a potential threat, and he ordered the execution of Guru Arjan in 1606. So that's why they were the political enemy of Mughals. The Sheikh movement began to get politicized in the 17th century, a development which culminated in the institution of Khalsa by Guru Gobind Singh in 1699. The community of Sikhs called the Khalsa Panth became a political entity. The changing historical situation during the 16th and 17th centuries, that means the time of Mughals, influenced the development of the Sikh movement. The ideas of Baba Guru Nanak had a huge impact on this development from the very beginning. The importance of worship of one God, that has been referred or discussed by Guru Nanak. He insisted caste, creed or gender was irrelevant for attaining liberation. Liberation was not that of a state of inert bliss, but rather the pursuit of active life with a strong sense of social commitment, that has been referred by Guru Nanak. He used the term Naam, Dan and Nishan for the essence of his teaching. These are the most important part of Guru Nanak's teaching, which actually meant right worship, welfare of the others and purity of conduct. His teachings are now remembered as Naam Japna, Kirt Karna and Bandh Chakna, which also underline the importance of right belief and worship, honest living and helping others. Thus, Baba Guru Nanak's idea of equality had social and political implications. There lies a difference of other Bhakti followers or the Sufi followers. They talked about the religious secularity. They are actually discussing about the against the orthodoxity of this religious practice. But here, for the first time, through Guru Nanak's ideas and his teachings, we are getting the essence of a different kind of a set of message, which is actually showing us a different notion of Bhaktism, an implication, political implication also. This might partly explain the difference between the history of the followers of Baba Guru Nanak and the history of the followers of other religious figures of the medieval centuries, like Kabir, Ravidas, Dadu Dayal, whose ideas were very similar to those of Baba Guru Nanak. They are talking about the same thing, but Guru Nanak was more precise to make it more stronger, and finally Sikhs, they became the most prominent political entity in front of any of the ruling power who are coming in India from 15th or 16th century to 1900th century till our freedom. So that's it from this chapter, the case studies I discussed. You will prepare nicely, and here also you are getting some important question which will be given end of this video session. I must refer about this thing, that when we are discussing about the Indian religious movement and the changes which are happening, at the same time in Europe also, 16th century was a time of religious ferment in as well. One of the most important leaders of this change was, that is the Martin Luther King. He actually taken an initiative to change the orthodoxity of the Christianity. Luther felt that several practices in the Roman Catholic Church went against the teaching of the Bible. He encouraged the use of the language of ordinary people rather than Latin and translated the Bible into German. Luther was strongly opposed to the practice of indulgence or making donation to the church so as to gain forgiveness from sins. His writing was widely disseminated with the growing use of the printing press. I must refer about the Bible translated by Martin Luther King in this time, and many Protestant Christian sects trace their origin to the teaching of Luther. Here lies the division of Christianity into two parts. One is Catholic, another one is Protestant. So that's it from this chapter, and this is our last session of Religious Path to Divine. I hope this video will help you to prepare your lesson nicely, and please practice the worksheets which are also provided in the website. Till then, goodbye and be happy.